I'm going to start this review the way I usually do when a kitchen appliance pops up on my radar, with a little bit of caution and a lot of practical questions. Maybe you've been scrolling through endless listings of built-in ovens and feeling a bit overwhelmed. You want something that will actually fit the way you cook, not just look good on the back wall of your cabinets. You've probably wondered whether the higher price tag of a professional model is really justified, or if you might end up with a unit that looks sleek, but leaves you fiddling with settings you never use. That's the exact space I'm trying to fill here, to help you decide if the ZLINE 30-inch professional single-wall oven is a sensible addition to your kitchen, or just another piece of shiny metal. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kitchen setup most people have when they start looking at a built-in oven. If you've already invested in a custom cabinet, or are renovating a decent-sized range space, you've probably got a 30-inch width opening already framed in. The ZLINE model is designed to slide right into that opening, front-facing its fingerprint-resistant stainless steel panel. That's a nice touch because, in my own kitchen, the oven door gets a lot of handprints from quick grabs of the timer or the temperature dial. The coating seems to handle that without needing a constant polish, which saves a step in everyday cleaning. Now, onto the real cooking experience. This is an electric convection oven with a true convection fan, meaning the hot air circulates more evenly than a traditional bake setting. For a home baker, that translates to more consistent crumb structure in a loaf or more uniform browning on a sheet pan of cookies. I ran a quick test with a batch of chocolate chip cookies, not a scientific experiment, just an afternoon bake, and the results were spot on, edges crisp, centers soft, and the batch didn't need a rotation midway through. That's the kind of everyday reliability that many of us want without having to become a pastry chef. The oven also bundles a handful of specialty modes that are worth mentioning. The warm setting holds a low temperature, great for keeping a casserole on the table while guests mingle. The proof mode, which runs at a steady low heat, is a boon for anyone who likes to let dough rise without worrying about temperature fluctuations. If you've ever struggled with a lukewarm kitchen that makes dough rise too slowly, you'll appreciate this niche feature. It's not a brand new invention, but it's a thoughtful inclusion that makes the oven feel a bit more professional. One practical convenience that often gets overlooked is the built-in temperature probe. You can insert it into a roast or a turkey, set your target internal temperature, and the oven will automatically shut off or switch to a holding mode when you hit that mark. In my trial run with a medium-sized chicken, I was able to walk out of the kitchen, set a timer, and come back to a perfectly cooked bird that didn't dry out. That probe is especially handy if you tend to undercook or overcook meat, because you're guessing the doneness based on visual cues alone. If you're observant about the way modern appliances interact with your lifestyle, the Sabbath mode will ring a bell. It essentially disables all digital displays and button lights while still allowing the oven to function at a preset temperature. For families who observe Sabbath restrictions, this can be a real peace-of-mind feature. You can have a casserole baking in the background without worrying about the light flashes. Okay, so who should really consider this oven? The sweet spot is a serious home cook who frequently uses the oven for baking, roasting, and perhaps a bit of experimenting with low and slow cooking. If you have a kitchen where the oven is a focal point and you've already planned for a 30-inch built-in unit, then the ZLINE's combination of convection, probe, and specialty modes could save you time and provide more consistent results. It also makes sense for families who need a proofing function, or for people who love the idea of a clean, fingerprint-resistant door that stays looking new after many rounds of cooking. On the flip side, if your cooking habits are simple, say, you heat up leftovers, bake a pizza once a week, and don't care much about precise temperature control, you might be overpaying for features you'll rarely use. The ZLINE doesn't come with a second rack that folds down or a built-in microwave combo, so if you're looking for a multifunction device, you'll need to consider a different approach. Also, the oven is a single-cavity unit. If you often need to run two different dishes at different temperatures simultaneously, you'll be limited to the single rack, and may have to compromise on timing. That's a practical drawback that can be a deal-breaker for those who entertain large groups or like to multitask in the kitchen. Let's discuss a couple of the more subtle trade-offs that